The hall was packed long before the show even began. Bright lights shone across the large New York auditorium. People chatted, laughed, and scrolled on their phones while waiting for the next contestant. It was a normal night for the audience, until the host stepped up to the microphone and read the next name. "Next," he announced, clearing his throat, "a singer from the streets. Lucas Reed." A wave of confusion moved through the crowd. Some people whispered. Others laughed lightly. "A street boy," a woman in the front row said. "What is he doing here?" "Probably a joke act," a man added. The stage door opened, and Lucas walked out slowly. His hands shook a little. His shirt was clean but old. His shoes had worn out soles. But his eyes held something strong, fear mixed with hope. He stood in front of the microphone. He tried to smile, but the audience could see the nerves. The judges looked at him with raised eyebrows, waiting to see what he could do. Lucas swallowed hard. This was the moment he had dreamed of, but now that he was here, he felt like his lungs would stop working. He took a breath and tried to start singing. But then he suddenly froze. His eyes were no longer on the judges or the crowd. He was staring at the back of the hall. Something, or someone, made him stop. The camera turned. A girl had just walked in through the last door. She wore a simple blue dress. Her hair was tied back loosely, and she carried no makeup or fancy style. She wasn't like the rest of the crowd. Yet something about her presence made people fall silent. Even the host paused. Lucas whispered so quietly that the microphone barely caught it. "She came, she actually came." The crowd looked between Lucas and the girl. Who was she? Why did Lucas freeze the moment she appeared? And why did he look as if he was seeing a ghost or a miracle? The girl stopped halfway down the aisle. Her eyes were shiny, almost emotional. She didn't wave, didn't call his name, she only looked at him with a soft, gentle expression. A look that said she knew him better than anyone in the room. Lucas stepped back from the microphone. His voice trembled. "I thought you wouldn't come." The girl said nothing, but the small smile on her lips answered everything. A buzz of whispers filled the hall. Who is she? Why does he know her? What's going on? The judges exchanged glances. One leaned forward, intrigued. "This is interesting," she whispered to another judge. "There's a story here." Lucas tried again to face the microphone, but he couldn't. His mind wasn't in the auditorium anymore. Seeing her brought back a rush of memories of cold nights, empty stomachs, kind smiles, and a voice that once told him, "You deserve more than the streets." Lucas closed his eyes, and the audience watched him like he was a movie. His voice shook softly. "I can't sing, not until I explain." The crowd leaned in. The judges looked surprised. Contestants didn't usually speak before performing. Lucas held the microphone, his voice filled with emotion. "I didn't come here alone, even when I thought I did." The girl in the blue dress shook her head gently, signaling him to stop. She didn't want the attention on her. But Lucas didn't look away. "This girl," he said softly, "she's the reason I'm standing on this stage." The hall fell so silent that even the sound of a dropped pin would have echoed. Another wave of whispers rose. Is she his girlfriend? Did she train him? What happened between them? Lucas felt his throat close up. The pressure was too much. The lights felt too bright. His heartbeat sounded too loud. He wasn't ready to share everything, not yet. And he wasn't ready to sing with his emotions so wild and heavy. The girl stepped forward one small step, and Lucas instantly lifted his head. For a moment, it felt like the whole hall disappeared, the judges, the cameras, the crowd, everything except the connection between them. Her lips moved, and although her voice was soft, the hall somehow heard her. "Lucas, breathe." Just that one word steadied him. Breathe. The same word she had told him many times before. On street corners. On rainy days. During moments when he wanted to give up. Something inside Lucas shifted. A memory pulled him backward, back to the day he met her, back to the streets where he never imagined a stage like this would be part of his life. The lights on the stage dimmed slightly. The camera zoomed in on Lucas's face. The audience leaned in even closer. Then, without warning, the screen behind Lucas faded to black. His voice echoed softly. "It all started a year ago, when I was singing for spare coins, and she was just a stranger passing by." And just like that, the story flashed into the past. The hall, the judges, the girl in the blue dress, everything blurred away. Only one question remained in the minds of the audience. What happened between Lucas and the mysterious girl, and why did her arrival break him before he could sing? The suspense hung in the air. And the flashback began. Lucas Reed had spent most of his life on the streets of New York. Every morning he woke to the cold wind and the sounds of the city, car horns, subway trains, and hurried footsteps. He carried his small guitar everywhere, strumming for coins or small smiles from strangers. It wasn't glamorous, but it was all he knew. Music was his only friend, and it was the only thing that made him feel alive. One chilly afternoon, he was playing near a busy park corner. His fingers moved fast across the strings, and his voice carried softly over the traffic noise. Most people ignored him, giving only a quick glance or tossing a few coins on the pavement. But that day, someone stopped. A young woman, carrying a sketchbook under her arm, leaned against a lamppost. Her name was Emma Carter. She was a college student studying art, always looking for inspiration for her sketches. She had seen street musicians before, but something about Lucas made her pause. His eyes were tired but full of something she couldn't name: strength, pain, and hope all at once. Emma opened her sketchbook and began drawing, quietly and quickly. Lucas noticed her staring, but he didn't stop playing. Most people didn't care enough to watch, but she stayed. After a few minutes, Lucas finally stopped and nodded. "Do you draw a lot?" he asked, unsure. His voice was soft, hesitant. Emma smiled. "I like to capture life. People, places, moments. You're very real. I want to remember this moment." Lucas laughed lightly, though it sounded more like a cough. "Real? I'm just a street singer. People don't usually call me that." Emma shook her head. "No. Real isn't just about where you are. It's about who you are. And you're real." Her words caught him off guard. Nobody ever said something like that to him. People often ignored him, judged him, or laughed. But she saw him. Not just the street, not just the guitar, but him. Days passed, and Emma kept coming. She would sit on the same bench, sketching Lucas as he played. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they just shared silence. Over time, he started looking forward to her visits. She brought sandwiches, warm coffee, and a smile that made him feel like someone cared. One rainy evening, Lucas sat under a small awning, shivering as water dripped around him. Emma ran across the street, holding an umbrella. "I brought you something warm," she said, offering a thermos of soup. Lucas looked at her, stunned. Why do you do this?" Emma shrugged. "Because I can. And because I think you deserve it." Lucas didn't know what to say. No one had ever said that to him before. The streets taught him to survive, not to expect kindness. But here she was, a stranger, showing him a world he didn't think he could reach. As weeks passed, their connection grew. Lucas played music, Emma sketched him. They shared stories, laughed at small jokes, and sometimes just sat together, listening to the city. Emma believed in his talent, often telling him, Your voice is meant for more than these streets. People need to hear it. Lucas wanted to believe her. He did. But fear held him back. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear that one day she would leave, just like everyone else had. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky orange, Emma handed him a folded piece of paper. "Try this," she said. Lucas unfolded it. It was a list of local talent shows. These are real?" he asked, eyes wide. Emma nodded. "Yes. I know it's scary. But I'll be there. I won't let you do this alone." Lucas felt his chest tighten. He wanted to jump, to run, to scream, but mostly, he wanted to believe her. That night, sitting alone on the cold sidewalk, Lucas stared at the paper. He thought of Emma's smile, her steady hands, her words of encouragement. And for the first time in a long while, he allowed himself to hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, he could leave the streets behind. Hope that someone believed in him. Hope that the world was bigger than the corners of New York where he had lived all his life. Emma didn't know it, but she had changed his life. She was not just a stranger passing by. She was the spark he needed to see a future. And little did they know, that spark would grow into something neither of them could imagine, something that would take Lucas from the streets, to the spotlight. The moment was small then, a quiet connection on a rainy evening. But it was powerful enough to plant a seed. And sometimes, Lucas thought, all it takes is one person to believe in you to change everything. And that was Emma. Lucas Reed's life was slowly changing, though the streets still tried to pull him back. Every morning, he carried his guitar, strumming notes that spoke of hope and pain. But now, there was a difference. Emma Carter had become more than a friend. She was a guide, a witness to his talent, and the first person who believed he could rise above the streets. One afternoon, Emma ran into him with excitement in her eyes. "Lucas. Look at this," she said, waving her phone. On the screen was a small video of Lucas singing at the park. The camera had captured his raw voice and the emotions in his eyes. She had secretly recorded him while sketching, then uploaded it online. Lucas frowned. You uploaded it?" Emma nodded. "Yes. But don't worry, it's only for people to see your talent. Not for jokes or anything. I think people should hear your voice. It's too good to stay hidden." He stared at the screen. Comments were already appearing. "This boy has real talent. Amazing voice. How can someone so young sing like this?" Lucas's heart raced. This was the chance he had never imagined. A small spark of hope flared inside him. "Emma, do you really think I could perform on a big stage?" he asked quietly. She smiled warmly. "I know you can. And there's a local talent show coming up. The scouts are looking for fresh voices. You should try." Lucas shook his head. I can't. What if they laugh at me? What if I fail?" Emma placed a hand on his shoulder. "Lucas, listen to me. Failure doesn't matter. You've been strong all this time. You've survived worse. Now it's time to show the world who you really are. And I'll be there. Every step." For the first time, Lucas imagined a different life. A life where he wasn't just playing for spare coins. A life where people listened, really listened, to his voice. He felt hope, fragile but alive, growing inside him. Weeks passed, and Lucas practiced every day. Emma stayed by his side, sometimes recording his singing, sometimes sketching quietly, always encouraging him. Their bond grew stronger. They shared dreams, fears, and stories of the past. Then, one evening, everything changed. Emma didn't show up at their usual meeting spot. Lucas waited for hours, holding his guitar, watching the streets fill with evening traffic and shadows. He sent her messages, but there was no reply. The next day, still no word. He tried calling, but her phone went straight to voicemail. Panic rose inside him. What had happened? He searched the streets they often visited together. He asked friends if they had seen her. Nobody had. Lucas felt his world crumble. The girl who had given him hope, who had convinced him to try something bigger, had disappeared. His heart ached. He couldn't focus on music. The notes felt empty. Even the streets seemed colder, harsher. Days turned into a week. The talent show was approaching, and Lucas felt torn. He had promised Emma he would perform. But how could he step onto the stage without her? She was supposed to be there, cheering him on. She was his anchor. The day of the talent show arrived. The auditorium was huge, filled with hundreds of people. Bright lights, cameras, and applause surrounded him. Lucas walked backstage, guitar in hand, heart pounding. He felt lost. Emma wasn't there. He thought of all the rehearsals, all the encouragement, all the plans they had made together. And now she was gone. He could hear the audience outside, murmuring, laughing, some even doubting him. Lucas's hands shook. He was about to give up. He was about to walk off stage and return to the streets where no one expected anything from him. But then, he remembered one thing Emma had said. Your voice deserves a stage. People need to hear it. Even if I'm not there, I believe in you. He took a deep breath. He stepped out. The lights were blinding, and the crowd's chatter felt like a storm. Lucas closed his eyes. He strummed his guitar softly. The first note trembled. The second note was stronger. Slowly, his voice found its rhythm, flowing through the hall. Every word carried emotion: pain, hope, love, and loss. People stopped talking. The judges leaned forward. The audience grew quiet, listening. Lucas sang not just for himself but for Emma, for the streets that raised him, for the dreams he had held in his chest. Every note was a story, every lyric a piece of his heart. Halfway through, he felt something he hadn't felt in days: connection. Not just with the crowd, not just with the music, but with the person who had always believed in him. And though Emma wasn't there yet, he imagined her smile, her steady gaze, her encouragement. Lucas finished the song. The hall stayed silent for a moment, stunned by the raw power of his voice. Then applause erupted. People cheered, some with tears in their eyes. The judges stood, clapping, exchanging amazed glances. He had done it. Alone, but carrying Emma's spirit with him. Yet, the question remained: why had she disappeared? And would she arrive in time to see the moment that could change everything? The answer was about to come. The auditorium was tense. Hundreds of eyes stared at Lucas Reed, waiting for him to perform. The bright stage lights made the air feel heavy, and the murmurs of the audience seemed louder than usual. Lucas held his guitar, his hands trembling. He had practiced, he had prepared, but something was missing. Emma wasn't there. He took a deep breath and strummed the first chord. The notes were soft at first, uncertain, like the wind blowing through an empty street. Then he sang, pouring his heart into every word. The audience listened. Some faces softened, some eyes widened, and slowly, silence replaced the chatter. Lucas closed his eyes. He imagined Emma sitting in the crowd, smiling, watching him. He sang about his life on the streets, about the cold nights, the hungry days, the people who doubted him, and the girl who gave him hope. Every note carried his pain and dreams, and the hall felt as if it was holding its breath. Halfway through the song, Lucas felt his chest tighten. The fear returned. His mind raced: what if she didn't come? What if she had truly left him? Then, from the back of the hall, a small movement caught his eye. A girl in a simple blue dress was walking slowly down the aisle. At first, He thought his eyes were playing tricks on him, but no, there she was. Emma. The audience hadn't noticed her yet. But Lucas froze. His hands hovered above the strings. His heart pounded so loudly he was sure everyone could hear it. She stopped halfway down the aisle, her eyes locked on him. There were tears in her eyes. She whispered softly, though loud enough for him to hear. "Sing, Lucas. I'm here now." Time seemed to slow. The murmurs in the hall quieted. Lucas's throat tightened, and then, slowly, his fingers moved on the guitar strings again. He began to sing, not softly, not hesitantly, but with every ounce of emotion in his soul. The notes rang through the hall, clear and powerful. The audience leaned forward, mesmerized. Some people held their breath. Some eyes filled with tears. The judges stared, astonished, as Lucas's voice grew stronger with each line. He sang about Emma, about her belief in him, about the nights they had shared laughter and dreams. He sang about the pain of losing her even for a moment, and the joy of seeing her return. His voice trembled, broke, and soared all at once. The audience was no longer just listening, they were feeling. The whispers and laughter from the earlier contestants were gone. Every single person sat in stunned silence, captivated by the raw honesty of his performance. Lucas's eyes never left Emma. He could see her smiling, crying softly, and clapping along with him. That smile, that look of unwavering belief, gave him the courage to pour everything into the final notes. When he strummed the last chord and let the final word hang in the air, the hall was still for a heartbeat. And then eruption. People stood, cheering, clapping, shouting. Some were crying openly. The judges rose to their feet, clapping furiously. Cameras flashed. Phones lifted to capture the moment. The energy in the room was electric. Lucas fell to his knees for a moment, overwhelmed by the applause, by the emotion, by the knowledge that he had done it. Emma ran up to him, and without a word, hugged him tightly. The crowd saw it, the connection, the story, the love, the hope. It wasn't just a performance anymore. It was a moment of truth. A moment that had broken the room. One judge stepped forward, wiping tears. "I've never seen anything like this," she said. "It's raw, it's real, it's powerful." Lucas pulled back slightly and looked at Emma. "I thought I'd lost you," he whispered, his voice trembling. Emma held his hand firmly. "You never will," she said. "I told you I'd be there." The audience continued cheering, but for Lucas and Emma, the world had narrowed to just the two of them. The moment was theirs, pain, hope, fear, and love all tied together in one song. Lucas realized then that the streets, the struggle, the fear, all of it had led to this. Every hardship, every lonely night, every whispered doubt had made this moment possible. And Emma, she had made him believe that he could reach the spotlight. The cameras captured the scene, the audience witnessed it, and soon, social media would explode with reactions, the boy from the streets who broke the room. That moment, unforgettable. Lucas Reed, what a voice. But for Lucas and Emma, none of that mattered. What mattered was standing together, holding hands, knowing that they had found each other, and that their journey was only beginning. As the applause continued, Lucas smiled at Emma, his heart full. "From streets, to spotlight," he whispered. Emma laughed softly, tears still in her eyes. "And it's just the beginning." And in that hall, under the bright lights, with hearts full of hope and voices full of truth, the moment had truly broken the room. After the applause faded, Lucas and Emma stood together on the stage, still holding hands. The crowd's cheers echoed around them, but for a moment, it felt like the world had shrunk to just the two of them. Lucas's heart was pounding, not from fear this time, but from relief and joy. Emma smiled at him, her eyes shining. "You were incredible," she whispered. Lucas shook his head, still breathless. "I couldn't have done it without you." I thought you left me. Emma's expression softened. She took a deep breath, looking down for a moment before meeting his eyes. Lucas. I didn't leave you, she said. I had to go away, there was an emergency. My little brother, he got sick suddenly. I had to be with him. I tried to reach you, I really did. But things got complicated. I couldn't get back in time until now. Lucas felt a mix of emotions: relief, worry, and understanding. You had me worried, he said quietly. I didn't know if you'd come back. Emma shook her head. I promised you I'd be there, and I am. I couldn't miss this moment. You've worked too hard, Lucas. You've earned this. Lucas took a step closer and held both her hands in his. Emma, you believed in me when no one else did. You gave me hope. You gave me courage. I can't imagine doing this without you by my side. She smiled softly. And you never will. I'm here for you. Always. The judges approached them, still clapping. One judge spoke, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. Lucas, what you did tonight, it's more than talent. It's heart. You've captured everyone's attention. You're a finalist. And from what I've seen tonight, you might just have the voice that will change the world. Lucas felt his chest tighten with happiness and disbelief. From the streets to the spotlight, every struggle, every lonely night, every whispered word of encouragement had led to this moment. But more than the applause or the recognition, it was Emma's presence that mattered most. She had been his anchor, his inspiration, his reason to believe. After the judges moved on to other contestants, Lucas and Emma stepped aside. They looked out at the audience, at the cameras, at the people cheering, but their focus was on each other. I never thought I'd see this day, Lucas admitted, smiling shyly. The streets, the cold, all of it seemed so endless. And now, here I am. Emma laughed softly. You made it, Lucas. You never gave up, even when the world seemed against you. That's why this moment is yours. Lucas took her hand again. And it's ours, he said. We did this together. Every song I sang tonight, it was for you, for us. Emma's eyes glistened. Then let's promise, no matter what comes next, we face it together. From the streets, to whatever spotlight comes our way. Lucas nodded, feeling a deep sense of peace. The fear that had haunted him, the fear of failure, the fear of losing Emma, was gone. He realized that no stage, no audience, no applause could replace the bond they had built. As they walked off the stage together, the audience continued to cheer, some people wiping tears from their eyes. Cameras flashed, phones recorded, and social media would soon explode with the story of Lucas Reed, the boy who had risen from the streets and sung his heart into the world. But Lucas and Emma didn't care about the fame. For them, the moment was about something much deeper: trust, love, and hope. The streets had tested him, life had challenged him, but together, they had found a way to shine. Later that night, as the auditorium emptied, Lucas and Emma sat on the steps outside, looking at the city lights. You know, Lucas said quietly, I never thought I'd leave the streets. But now, I feel like anything is possible. Emma leaned her head on his shoulder. You've always had the talent. You just needed someone to believe in you. And I knew that was me. Lucas smiled. It was always you. For a moment, they sat in silence, enjoying the calm after the storm. The city buzzed around them, but for Lucas and Emma, it was peaceful. The journey from the streets to the spotlight had been hard, but it had led them here together, stronger, and full of hope. And as they walked away from the stage, hand in hand, Lucas felt a sense of certainty he had never known before. Life could be uncertain, the streets could be cruel, and the world could be harsh. But with hope, love, and someone who truly believes in you, even the darkest paths could lead to light. from the streets, to the spotlight. And now, with Emma by his side, Lucas knew this was only the beginning.